Welcome back to another week of building the Caldercraft HMS Victory. We've now got 44 of the gun ports framed. I've done all the ones on this side, so there's 15 on the bottom, 14 above that, and we'll do the 14 on the other side. Unlike last week, I'm not going to show 5 complete ones because that does take a while, and no one seems to be particularly interested in it. So this time I'll just do little bits and pieces with the video sped up with no commentary, and then I'm hoping we'll have time to fit the upper gun deck, and once that's in place, then the following week we can line the inside. There's an inner wall that has to be placed, and we'll also start planking that deck. So we'll try and get all the framing out of the way this week. So I'll just turn the ship around and we'll begin. Okay, now we've got the first, I think it's 58 gun ports lined. Before we can do anything else, we have to fit, this is part 445, which is the next deck up in place. And there is a slight problem, so I'll reset the camera so you can see, and then we'll have a look at that. Okay, putting this deck in, the top gun deck, you can slide it in to its position on one side because it has to sit down on these
frames going across, but as you can see it's right up against this edge here, and you've still got these frames above here that you have to get past. So it's very, or almost impossible to do that. You can try and bend it, but I'm a bit worried that it's going to break. And even if I do get it in there, talking to someone I know that's built this kit, he said this deck is actually a couple of millimeters too wide, so it has to be trimmed down on the side, on each side, so it just fits. So the solution I've decided to run with is I'm going to cut this deck right down the middle, fit it in there, have a look, work out how much has to be trimmed off the edge so we can fit it in there. Because as you can see, if you lay it on top, it's actually wider than the ship by about 5 millimeters, which is fine down below where it's supposed to sit, but not up here. So it's a fair bit of bending to get it in there. So I'm going to go cut this deck in half, and then we're going to try fitting it in place then. Okay, I've cut the deck in half. It's only 0.8 millimeter thick plywood, so I just used a Stanley knife to cut that. I think they're called box cutters outside of Australia, but here they're Stanley knives. So we'll just push that in, grab the other one, just so we can get an idea of if it's a little bit too wide. So yeah, that is overlapping very slightly. Can't really force it down, it's not going to sit flat. So yeah, let's have a look. Yeah, it's overlapping by probably 2 millimeters front and back, and it's hard up against the edges, so we can't push it any further back. So we're going to have to trim up that outside. We do the outside because you can't do the join in the middle, because that's going to mess with the mast hole as well as the holes for the gratings, because we want those to stay the correct size. So I'm going to go along, trim up the outside edge, and then I'll return. From that outside edge I've trimmed off about 1.5 millimeters from the outside of both halves of the deck. It's probably difficult for you to see, but that now sits perfectly in place all the way down. So we'll get some glue on there and put them in. Glue on half the ship, just where the deck is going to be sitting. Once I've got it in place, I'll nail it down so it sits nice and flat.
now I'm going to go over this and nail in the deck. There's no point filming it, pretty boring pretty quickly watching me put 100 nails in. So I'll be back once that's done. Okay, that's firmly in place now. A couple of spots I had to hold down with clamps because I couldn't get nails in there. The outside edges were good. They're sitting hard up against the frames underneath anyway, so it was mainly in the middle that I had to nail it. So we're going to leave this to dry and end the video here. So next week we're going to be fitting these internal walls or bulwarks, whatever they're called, and they'll sit up underneath here, and they have to line up exactly with the outer gun ports. So I've actually bought some 12mm wood, and we're going to use that to line everything up. But depending how high this deck's pushing it up, it may have to be adjusted a little bit, this part I mean, just to make sure that it does fit correctly. So that's it for this week. Thanks for joining me, and hope to see you next week. Cheers.